the time session for the last day. So the topic is it's something about something called infinity, which bothers not only mathematicians, it bothers also common man. What is infinity? How do we tackle about it? And especially maths teachers, they have a lot of issues when the students ask something about infinity. So before starting, let me ask only 3 persons, raise your hands if you want to say something about infinity. I want to see your views before I give my views about infinity. Yes, 1, second, 2, 1 more, anybody? 3, okay. Can we have the hand mic please? What do they think about infinity? On that side, brown shirt, raising hand. Hello.
Good morning to each and all. I am A.K. Majumdar. As per my perception, I think infinity is so big and so small, which we cannot calculate.
Okay, fine. Okay, one line only. Okay, no elaborate things. Otherwise, my time will be gone. Okay, just one line. What do you think is infinity? Here in the middle row. Teacher in the blue shirt, please wait for the mic to come. No, only 3 people because otherwise I will lose my time. Okay? I don't have infinite time. I have only finite time to give the lecture.
For me, infinity is one more beyond the number one can think of.
Okay,
And
okay, that's okay. Somebody raise and please pass on the mic to that side. Gentlemen, yes.
Good morning, sir. In my view, there is no existence of infinity.
There is no existence.
It is just approach. Whenever we say that 1 upon x.
Okay, fine. One line is over. So it's for him. It's just an approach. It's nothing actually. You can take the mic. So let me. Hopefully, by the end of this session, you will have a complete answer. What is infinity? This is I said yesterday also. Paul Nyman, a physicist and a mathematician, said there are things in life which we do not understand. We just get used to them. God is one, infinity is another. And both are related. By the end of my talk, I will relate God with infinity. Okay? And you will be surprised from where does God and comes in infinity in mathematics. Okay. So here is something. See, I am starting with our first encounters with infinity. In childhood, we start looking at stars, right? And we start wondering how many of them are there. So here is something about stars. Going to childhood. Then we start asking also, as many as your hair in the sky, hair on your head. That is one of the common answers in childhood. We do that. Basically because we cannot count these things. Okay. Here is something again we encounter in childhood. Where are these 2 lines meeting? Railway lines. Where do they meet? And the common answer the father will give to the child at infinity. If he thinks, oh, infinity में मिलेगी जाके, बहुत दूर जाके मिलेगी, बहुत दूर जाके मिलेगी. This might have seen At least all the gentlemen must have seen this in the barber shop. A mirror behind you, a mirror in front of you, and you keep on seeing so many hairs being cut in so many heads, infinite heads, infinite haircuts. Again, infinite appears there. Here is something slightly when the child starts going to school, he encounters infinite. So this is from the NCERT textbook standard 6, chapter 4, definition of a point. Point is defined by a sharp tip of the pencil, mark a dot on paper. Sharper the tip, thinner will be the dot. This almost invisible, infinitely small, tiny dot will give you an idea of a point. So this is verbatim taken from NCERT book. And the word infinitely small comes there. What is the line segment? Shortest join of point A with B, including shown here in a line segment, whatever that may mean. And what is a line? This is the definition given below. Okay. Line through point A is written as AB is extends indefinitely in both sides, so it contains countless number of points. How much does it make sense? Mathematically, I don't know. Intuitively, of course, it gives some idea about. So there is a second encounter of infinity in your as a child in school. It's not easy to explain what is infinity. So, lot of mathematicians, lot of philosophers, even before Christ, antiquity, Pythagoras, associated good and evil with the limited and the unlimited. Something limited is good, unlimited is forget about it. Aristotle. Infinite is imperfect, unfinished, and therefore unthinkable. It is formless and confused. So that is Aristotle saying about what is infinite. Another philosopher, Marcus Aurelius, he says infinity is a fathomless gulf into which all things vanish. That is the explanation of infinity. That is 180. Here is Thomas Hobbes, a British philosopher, says when we say anything is infinite, we signify only that we are not able to conceive the ends and bounds of the thing named. There is one of the great mathematicians from these times, Gauss. Infinity is only a figure of speech. That's all. Very much. So again, going back to school, a straight line is in the plane is a simple curve that has infinite length. That is what we say kind of. Are there other simple curves which have infinite length? What is a simple curve? Which does not cut itself again, right? No intersection of the unit segment. Let's see if I can show you something interesting. Infinite length, infinite area. Some contradiction is coming. you observe anything in this? A simple curve in the shape of going vertical down is bent. Cut it into half, bend out, bend in, bend out, bend in, so that length is increased. At every stage you are doing these kind of things and increasing the length. So if you go on doing it infinitely, you get a curve of infinite length which does not cross itself anywhere. It's like one thread. You just pull, it will become a straight line again, kind of a thing. Another one, an interesting one. Yesterday you saw Sierpinski's triangle and so things, but they were a plate triangle, equilateral triangle, and then triangles are cut. There is 2 dimension. Here is a 1-dimensional version of the same thing, and it's more interesting, I think. It's like when you must have seen this winter sweaters being knitted by ladies, no? And once you pull out one thread, whole thing you unwind it as a one thread itself, right? It is something like that. It's more interesting because here actually you are sort of bending and doing it. That reminds me of something I've seen on the roadsides. This some people do with wires, no? They make some cycle, some peacock by bending. Same thing is bent and done. It's very nice. Yesterday also you saw fractals coming in the picture. Right? And this is another form of infinity. let us go a bit ahead and see what we want to do with this. Here is something. So I am coming now to mathematics as such. What is go to classroom mode. So I am going to. Oh, it has come. So I am going to do some kind of construction for a part of the real line. Okay. Geometrically, everybody understands what is a real line. Any horizontal line segment. Okay. So let us take a horizontal line segment. Let me call it 0, call it as 1. Right? I am taking the interval between 0 and 1. And if you know what is called a closed interval, I am taking, including both the endpoints also inside that. So I am taking the closed bounded interval 0, 1. If you don't know these terms, you just think of a piece of wire which is of length 1. Okay. How do you say that the number x between here, x between 0 and 1 has this decimal exponential and so on. This is a decimal expansion of a point of a real number inside. I don't want to do any arithmetic, no division. I just want to look at geometrically how do I get this construction, decimal. Right? So how does one do this? One divides this into 10 equal parts. Okay. Then what you do? You call this as 0, you call this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and will be 9. Right? I am naming it 0, 1. Now, how does this 3 appear? That means it lies in the beyond 3, so it lies somewhere here. So this x is somewhere here, right, geometrically. And then what I do? I take 3 to 4 and again cut it into 10 equal parts. Again name it as 0, 1, 2, 3, whichever interval it lies, I call that will be my next thing. So decimal representation of a number geometrically is nothing but dividing into 10 equal parts and seeing in what part it lies. The 10 parts are named as 0, because when you divide by 10, what are the remainders? 0 to 9. So name the intervals as 0, 1, 2 up to 9 and see in what part, which interval it lies. So I am going to do something else. I am going to do division by 3. So let us take here. It doesn't look like a straight line, but I will assume it is a straight line. 0 to 1, I am going to divide it into 3 equal parts. So what will be the 3 equal parts? What will be the first point? 1 by 3. Now what I am going to do is, I am going to break this into 3 parts and remove the middle part from this stick. Okay, from this part. So let us remove it. So let me remove this part. Okay. So what will that give me? It will give me this interval and this interval. So my construction is, whatever is given to me, I divide that into 3 equal parts and remove the middle 1/3 of that. So first stage will give me this. Now how many intervals I have? 2. Each one I will cut it into 3 parts and middle one I will remove. So what will be this part? So what will be this point? 1 by 9. 2 by 9. This is 3 by 9. Okay. So what will be this?
8 by 9.
And 6 by 9, 7 by 9, 8 by 9 and 9 by 9. Again remove the middle part. So let us remove the middle part. Okay. So I get, how many intervals I get now? 4. So at first stage I started with 1. Next stage I get 2. Next stage I will get 4. And I continue this process. Continue doing it as long as you can, at least till infinity. Do it infinite number of times. That sounds very absurd, right? Basically, you can never do anything infinite number of times. You can only do it finite number of times. That is where the beauty of mathematics comes. It allows you to analyze things which you cannot do physically. It allows you to do things which you cannot do physically. Right? Infinite things you cannot do. You can do it only mathematically. Okay? So supposing I continue this process, right? So now imagine 0 to 1 was a collection of points. I have removed some points from 0, 1 infinitely. So let us write C is the set of points that after having done all infinite number of cuttings, removing, throwing, C is what is left of it. Right? So what is C? C is a subset of, so it is a subset of
0, 1.
0 to 1. Right? Set theory, if you want to write it. And it's a proper subset. It is not equal to, I have thrown a lot of things out of it. Yes? Good. Now, first question is C not empty? Is it a non-empty set? I want answer from you. Say it. It is non-empty? So who believes it is non-empty? Just raise your hand. Yes, why do you think it is non-empty?
We don't know where is the edge. It is going
No. This set is non-empty. That means what?
Because 0
I
is
have to
10.
exhibit at least 1 point inside it. So
Sir,
give me
zero-
example of 1 point inside this set.
0 belongs to C.
Please. She's answering. Yes. 0 to infinity. It is a subset of 0 to 1.
Correct. That 0 to 1 means that is one set is there.
No. I want a number between 0 and 1 which is inside this set. That is only proof it is non-empty. You should understand now what is saying something is non-empty. Yes, somebody said this
0
side.
1 anything.
No, you are not understanding.
0 is there in C.
0 he belongs, says 0 belongs to C. Okay.
1 is also there.
0 belongs to C. 1 belongs to C. Right? So what do you think? How many points are there in C?
Infinite many points. Right?
Every time 2 parts are.
So what is infinity? I don't know what is 2 raised to infinity. I don't know what is infinity.
Because infinite times.
Yeah, but I don't know what is 2 raised to infinity means. I don't 2 raised to 1 million, 2 million, 1000 million. I don't know what is 2. But I can say, or if I want to categorically answer the question, positively the points are removing the middle open part only. Keep in mind. So the end point stays there. Whatever is removed, see, understand what is the process.
That is okay.
And then answer.
At least
Only the
0
middle open is removed. The end point of that interval stays there. It never goes anywhere. 0 stays there. 1 stays there. 1 by 3 stays there. 2 by 3 stays there. 1 by 9 stays there. Right? So the end points of the intervals removed all stay there. And how many intervals I have removed? 1, 2, 4, 8. Looks like infinite, right? Heuristic only. So still there are infinite number of points inside 0, 1. 0, 1 had infinite number of points. I have removed something and still inside left is 0. Infinite. Now let us do one more analysis of this. What is the total length intervals removed? So please calculate. Think and calculate. At the first stage I remove a interval of length
1 by 3.
1 by 3. Next stage
1 by 9.
2 intervals of 1 by 9. If I go on to removing this, how many intervals I have removed? You know that. What is the total length? 1 by 3 plus something plus something plus something. Please count and don't shout. Let everybody calculate. Right? So what is the answer that, it cannot be bigger than 1. From the length 0, 1, I have moved something. So the answer cannot be bigger than 0 to 1. So this is how logically you should conclude. Good. Are you guessing?
Yes.
No. Have you guessed or calculated? So you're saying 1 by 2? Your answer is 1 by 2. Okay. Don't explain anything. 1 by 2. What is your answer?
1.
1. What is your answer?
Approximately 1.
Approximately 1 means what?
1.
Some cannot be approximate, right? You have to give a precise answer, right? Yes, he says 1, he says half. Somebody else on this side, I want an answer from this side also.
GP नहीं sir, ABP है.
1.
Sir 1 by 2 plus 9 by 8.
What is it?
1 by 2 plus 9 by 8.
Sine by x. 9 by x. What is x? You see, you can give this exercise in summation of geometric progression in your class if you want. This is a simple exercise on GP.
AGP
First
sir.
is known, common ratio is known, what is the sum? That's all. 1 by 2 still? Answer is 1 by 2?
7 by 8.
7 by 8. No. 1 by 2. Yes?
Near to 1.
We'll go by majority. Now it's not right way of doing it, but majority is right, answer is 1.
7 by 8.
So, now check yourself later how the answer is 1. I have given you the hint.
1 minus
progression.
1 minus 1 by 6.
No.
Sir?
Don't give the solution. Don't give the solution. Because nobody else will think about it then. This is a common mistake teachers make in the classroom. 2 cross 2. The sharpest child will say 4 and teacher thinks all the class knows how to calculate 2 into 2 is 4.
Sir, is it AGP or GP?
Analyze anything what you want. I want the answer. I don't know what is whether it is snake or a crocodile or a fish or a AP or GP or HP. I don't know. I want the answer. That's all. That physically I am saying this is removed, this is removed, this is removed. Add up and tell me what is it. You are adding up things and then calculating. Okay. So let us believe that majority is right. From a interval of length 1, how much you have removed? You have removed sub-intervals of length 1, and just now you said there are still infinite number of points left in it. Still infinite number of points are left in it. That is the beauty of infinity. From infinity, we have removed almost everything, and still infinity is left inside it. Right? There is a very important set which goes by the name Cantor's ternary set. So that is the kind of mysteries you will find in the infinity term. Yes? No, don't go to yesterday. You have a question of today, you talk about today's question.
Should also solve that area square.
It is one-dimensional version of the same thing. Now sit down. I understood you. I am explaining your thing. In the square thing, when you remove the square, then what is the area left was at 1. You started with the square of area 1. What is left is square 1. But you never thought of, right? How come? What is left also is quite big in some sense, right? Only stop there, removed is equal to 1 and be happy. No. I am going beyond that. I am saying on one-dimensional version only of that is two-dimensional version. You have three-dimensional version of the same thing. Okay? That was carpet, you can do it cube and so on. Okay, there are many things possible. But I want to give a simplest thing which a school child can understand things. Right? 0, 1, cutting, breaking, throwing away. GP, you know what is GP and add up at this point. Right. So the mystery is from an interval of length 0 to 1, we have removed sub-interval pieces of length 1 and still we are saying infinite number of points are left in it. Now question is, how many points are left in it? Infinite. Started with infinite. Is there any relation between these two infinites or this infinite? how do I say that I want to compare now? Intuitively it looks to me the infinity which I started with, infinite number of points in 0 to 1. I have removed intervals of length 1 again, right? And still I am getting back infinite number of points. So it looks like the infinite number of points we are left with should be much smaller than, is a subset anyway. Set theory, it is a subset. What is left is a proper subset of 0 to 1. The question is, how many points I started with and how many are left now? I want to now answer, precise answer, how many. But this is infinite, so how do I count infinite things? That is the question, right? So we do that, but I just wanted to illustrate a history to you. This is called Cantor's Ternary set. George Cantor was a German mathematician, and he became known for talking about infinity, making infinity accessible to human beings. So he is called the man who knew infinity. So go to the YouTube, you will find videos about George Cantor saying the man who knew infinity. Beautiful. The amount of work he has done to understand mathematics and infinity is beautiful. Without his contribution, we couldn't have progress at all. Because infinity being made accessible in finite time to human beings. That is the beauty. Okay, here is some in the sequence of motion. How do we start counting? This is all. So how do we start counting? Childhood, anyway, school level. Given a bag of toffees, right? As soon as a child is in KG or first standard, father brings home toffees, right? As a gift, and he starts counting. How do you count? 1, 2, 3. And when nothing is left, 15 toffee mila mere ko aaj. How do you assign roll numbers? Roll number 1, you pick up a person, assign a number. So, given, okay, we say a set is finite if there is a one-to-one correspondence between the set and 1, 2, 3, 4 up to some n. Right? How is the 34 students are there in the class? And then one-to-one correspondence. What is one-to-one correspondence? The best example is assigning roll numbers. Every student is assigned a roll number. That is the on-to map. And no two students are given the same roll number. Otherwise we will have problems. Right? So different students are given different roll number, and every student is given a roll number. That is 1, 1 and 1, 2. There is a 1-to-1 on-to correspondence. For every point here, there is a point here. For every element here, there is an element here. So that is what it says, 1-to-1 correspondence. And then we write it as the number of elements is equal to. So this is what, sorry, I am presuming. That is a disadvantage of technology. So we write this as number. So the two, right? There is a symbol used for number anyway. The number of elements. Now I want to go to, from here, I want to define what is infinite. Right? I want to capture that now. So a set, now I'm in mathematics now. I've got a collection, say like natural numbers. I want to say that set is infinite. So what do I say? I'll say something which is not finite is infinite. Simplest solution. Something which is not finite is infinite. So given a set S, how mathematicians cleverly avoid problems. Given a set S, if I cannot find a 1-to-1 correspondence onto 1, 2, 3 up to some n, then I will say that set is infinite. So by that definition, do you think the set of natural numbers is finite or infinite? Set of natural numbers itself is infinite, right? And that comes because of this property. Right? Natural numbers have a property. Given any n, I can have one more successor to it. Right? So, if you say it stops, if I say the natural number stop here, then where is n plus 1? It is not inside this set, but I have a 1-to-1 correspondence. It should have been on 2, but n plus 1 is not being mapped into anything. So, it is not possible. By contradiction, that set n is natural numbers is an infinite set. Okay? So one example of infinite set. Okay. So I want to assign a number to it now. How many elements are there in natural numbers? I want to assign a number to it. Something. But no number 1, 2, 3, 4, anything will work. So I have to design a new number which should say this is the number which corresponds to number of elements of natural numbers. And that is what is this symbol called LF naught. So mathematicians devise the number of elements is written as this Greek letter LF and 0 indicating LF naught. So we devise a new number, you can call it. So this is what is called the cardinal number. The set is finite, its cardinal number will be actually a natural number. But for n itself, there is no natural number which can be cardinal number, so we devise something called LF naught. Okay? So how would I say that natural numbers is infinite? It is not finite by contradiction, right? Assume it is finite, so there should be some n where I should stop. But n plus 1 is not there inside. So this is a beautiful thing given by the Greek mathematicians called proof by contradiction. Many proofs, or actually 99% of the proofs about infinity are proved that way, by using proof by contradiction. And here is one more which you can try yourself later on if you have not tried. Using the same, try to prove that there are infinite number of primes. Try it later on, take it as an exercise by the proof by contradiction. Assume they are finite, so what you should do, produce one more which is not in that finite set. That will be the, right? That is proof by contradiction. So do that. So this you can try later on. So now comes something more, which deals with something in classroom. You say 1 by new, so fractions 1 by 2, 1 by 3, 1 by 4, they are becoming smaller and smaller coming to 2. But let us say other way around, 1, 2, 3, 4, the number, that sequence is increasing, going somewhere, I don't know where it is going. So I can say it goes somewhere, right? That is what we like to call as infinity, right? So why not devise a symbol called infinity and put it along with the real numbers? But if there are two directions for the real numbers, positive and negative, but you can go -1, -2, -3. So I need a corresponding thing on the other side. So what mathematicians do, they attach two new symbols. They are not real numbers, right? We are just attaching to, what is 1? When you write 1, what is 1? Huh? It is simple only. It represents something, right? It has no entity of its own. What is 1? 2. They are all symbols, right? 19, 1 and 9. They are all symbols which represent something. So we add plus infinity and minus infinity to already existing set of real numbers. So in my family of real numbers, two more guests have come, plus infinity and minus infinity. So I call it as extended real numbers. My family have extended, right? So when your daughter gets married, right, you get extended family. Son-in-law comes in the family, right? But when son-in-law comes in the family, you tell the son-in-law, or son-in-law automatically comes to know that there are some traditions of that family. There are some which I should observe, right? Otherwise, I will be not part of the family. So, what are the traditions of real numbers? Which the two new members, plus infinity and minus infinity, should respect. Otherwise, there will be fights every day, right? So, for example, a Hindu family, they say we have to touch the feet of the elder, right? He comes home and doesn't touch the feet of Sasu, Jawai Raja. And there will be a problem. Yeah, out of the family. So the two new members, plus infinity and minus infinity, have to observe certain rules and regulations of real number. What are the rules and regulations? There are three operations. One, addition. Other, multiplication. And third, order. Right? Given any two real numbers, you can compare them. One is bigger than the other. In the family, who is the elder member, who is the senior member, who is the smaller member, who is the younger member, who gets more respect and who gets the less respect. So order. And the law says, given any two real numbers, one and only one of the following will hold, namely, either x is less than y, or y is less than x, or x is equal to y. That is called law of trichotomy in real number. That is order. Okay? What is the second thing? Add. Given any two real numbers, you can add them. You will get again a real number. Similarly, multiply, you will again get a real number. There are some special numbers called 0 and 1. 0 works as additive identity. I won't go into all that. And 1 is the multiplicative identity. 1 is bigger than 0. 1 is bigger than 0. Multiplicative identity. In the order structure, 1 is bigger than 0. That's why in your BODMAS, multiplication takes over addition. Okay? Because there is a respect given to multiplication. Okay? Then, how does multiplication and addition interact with each other? One tradition of multiplication, one tradition of addition, but the two have to interact. So how does, that is a distributive laws. Multiplication is distributive over, so that is how addition and these two things interact with each other. But there is a third one, namely order. How does order interact with addition and multiplication? The family has to be homogeneous family, respecting all operations, right? So how does order interact? Given two positive numbers, A is bigger than 0, B is bigger than 0, then their addition is also bigger than 0. That is a rule. That is the axiom for real number system. If A is bigger than 0, B is bigger than 0, then their product also is bigger than 0. That is how all the three operations interact, respect each other. Now two new members have come, plus infinity and minus infinity. I have to tell them, these are the rules and regulations of the family of real numbers which you should respect. So we will define the rules. So here are the rules. Order. Every real number is bigger than minus infinity and every real number is less than plus infinity. That is the order structure taken care of. Minus infinity is the smallest in the family, in the new family, and plus infinity is the largest in the family. Then, how does addition work with them? So next one gives minus infinity plus x is equal to this and this is equal to this. Okay. How does infinity add with itself? If they operate addition with itself, so plus infinity is plus infinity, minus infinity plus minus infinity is minus infinity. Right? These are among themselves adding up. So let us see what are the other operations. Multiplication. X multiplied with plus infinity is plus infinity multiplied with x. Keep in mind, multiplication is commutative with real numbers. So we want that order also to be here. Multiplication in extended real numbers should also be commutative. So these are the rules. But of course, when it's less than 0, things revert, right? In real numbers also, same thing happens here. Okay? This is with respect to the special element 0. Minus infinity into 0 equal to plus infinity into 0 is equal to 0. 0 not only kills the real numbers, it kills even the two new members also. It doesn't bother about whether old or new. 0 is supreme as far as multiplication is concerned. Kills everything. Right? And among multiplication of plus and minus infinity with themselves, they will revert each other. Right? Plus infinity, minus infinity into minus infinity is they will revert. Minus will go plus. Right? And does everybody understand this thing? Yes. Right? Changing the sign. Now comes minus infinity plus infinity is not defined. and plus infinity plus minus infinity, these two operations are not defined. Right? They themselves cannot, right? They cannot collaborate and plan something against the real numbers. Because if they do, if you allow them, then there will be contradictions. One can do that. If you define it as something, then you will get contradiction in the earlier real number system. So it says logically whatever you want to put in an old system, it should not disturb the original structure. Tradition should be maintained. When you want to put a third story in your house, you don't put it randomly, right? You see the strength of the first floor, strength of the second floor, whether it's possible to put the third floor or not. It should match with the aesthetics of lower floors, up and also on things, right? Similarly, mathematics goes on that. So these are not. So this is called extended real numbers, and you will be thinking it only, and for the fancy of it, mathematicians have defined it, but it plays a role in some other subjects, higher mathematics. The set of extended real numbers with these operations. Yes? Infinity 0 is defined as 0. Okay, we will discuss it later on. Okay. But anyway, because I don't want to enter into discussion here, but what I am saying is, what my idea of saying is that when you add some new things, tradition should be maintained and compatibility should be there. Right? It's okay, no problem. I might have made a mistake. I am not saying it's not a mistake. We'll see it later on. Okay? What is the issue? Because in this limited time, I cannot have infinite discussion. Okay? Right. Now let us come to this. The number system n natural numbers is inside integers. Integers are inside rationals. Rationals are inside reals. All are proper subsets. Right? Each one is a proper subset of the next one. Now the question comes, n is a proper subset of z. Now here is something which is interesting. A lot of teachers are bothered about why integers are denoted by z. Why not by I? Because almost all the textbooks denoted by I. It bothers everybody. Because students say why z? Or you will say why z? Because z is accepted in higher mathematics, that is one, right? But that is not why we should be doing that now. It became popular, the symbol became popular because of German mathematicians, and they gave operations on what is addition and multiplication of negative numbers historically. So there, in the word in German is Zahlen, Z-A-H-L-E-N. So arithmetic of negative numbers they devised, which everybody accepted. So it became as Z for integers. All Europe accepted that, right? Germany is part of Europe and all Europe accepted. Once Europe accepts, almost everybody accepts, right? Because it is convenient and anyway it's unique. So Z comes from Zahlen, a German word, and it is carried over in higher mathematics also. But some of the textbooks in our schools write as I. Right? But, so that it doesn't matter actually what you call it. You should know what it is, not what you call it. Not something is Sundar Singh. Whether he looks Sundar or not, that you should bother about. Right? Whether you call him Kaluram, even if he is Sundar, Kaluram, he can be Sundar. By looking at it. So that is the properties don't change. So now the question comes, can I compare n with z? How many elements are there? Both are infinite now. Keep in mind, n is a proper subset of z, but both are infinite. For example, let us look at even and odd natural numbers. Do you think they are same number of them? If I want to check how many natural numbers which are even and how many natural numbers which are odd, or let us take only even. How many even natural numbers and how many natural numbers? You will say they have half of it. Right? Because the alternate one is even. Odd ones we are forgetting. So you think it is infinity by 2. Right? But still that is giving the answer as infinity. But I want to compare as a subset, they are proper subset. So how would you compare two infinite sets if you want to compare? Let's go to our finite set formula. How do I compare? I take one element from here, one element from here, pair them. One element from here, one element from here, and pair them. Once I finish every pairing, right, and one person is paired only with one person there, then I say as many here, as many there. So mathematically you say two sets A and B have the same number of elements if there is a one-to-one correspondence between A and B. Fair enough? Because this works for finite anyway. So why not extend it to infinite, and looks logical also. So for any set, that is what Cantor also said, there is a given by Cantor that you want to compare two sets, whether finite or infinite, don't bother about it. If there is a one-to-one correspondence between the two, then this has as many elements as this. Right? So question is set of even natural numbers and set of all natural numbers. Is there a one-to-one correspondence between the two? Yes? Last row. Last row. Orange shirt. You said yes. So give me that correspondence. If there is a correspondence, I should know where does n go to. I have to have map, which is 1, 1 and 1, 2. So I should have a formula. Because for infinite, I cannot be taking out 1 and comparing. How do I say two infinite sets or any two sets are infinite? There is a one-to-one correspondence. That means I should define a function from one set to another, which is 1. So what is that function? From natural numbers to even, which is 1 or 1, 2. How to take a number and make it even? Multiply by 2. So n goes to 2n. Is it 1, 1? Yes. But to check. Is it on 2?
No.
So you have got a correspondence. So there are as many natural numbers as there are even numbers. Now again infinite. Surprising thing. From natural numbers you have thrown away odd. Still you have as many as the original one. How many even, how many odd if you want to compare them? Is there a one-to-one correspondence between the two? Even and odd. Can you get a function from one set to another which is 1, 1 and 1, 2? Devise. Yes, they are. There are as many odd, as many even, as many whole. Beauty of infinity. Okay? From big, you have removed as many as the big, and still what is left is as many as the original. That is infinite. Okay? And you prove also later on, one can prove this thing, that there are as many rational numbers as there are natural numbers. When you construct fractions, there are as many natural numbers as the fractions. So still the number is same. So I don't know, we've already checked. So let me quickly go over to. So I'll just finish this. So there is a formula I don't want to take. I think there are many things. I just want to skip. Okay, I think this is interesting. Let me go to this. Let us compare rationals with the real numbers now. How many rational numbers and how many real numbers are there? Compare. Rationals form a proper subset of reals. And I know there are numbers which are like square root of 2. Right? For the line, if you take the line symmetric representation, there is a hole in the line that is representing square root of 2, which is not filled by a rational number. To fill those holes, we construct irrational numbers. Right? The line is complete. But there is geometric thing. Analytically, Gadigan gave something later on, saying, or can enter both of them an independent thing, saying what is the difference between rational numbers and real numbers. They say that rational numbers have a property, real numbers have a property called completeness property, which rational numbers lack. I can't go into that because that itself requires lecture. But I want to compare how many are there, right? So let's compare. Let's go back to the Cantor set. I'll just take 5 minutes more so that I can complete in the Cantor set C, right? So let us look at the point X in C. let us take a point belonging to C, and I want to write its ternary expansion, like decimal expansion. I want to write its ternary expansion. So what will be the ternary expansion? How do I get it? X is in 0, 1. To get its ternary expansion, I should divide into three parts. First part I should call interval as 0, next interval as 1, next interval as 2. Those are the remainders. So if I like X write in the first one, I will say dot 0. If I say the second one, dot 1. In the third one, dot 2. And then again in that sum interval I divide into three parts and bring it. So I will get a sequence like this: point A1, A2, A3 and so on. Right? That will be the ternary expansion of X belonging to Cantor set. Can I say something about these AI's numbers? Keep in mind how we constructed Cantor set. Can I say any property of these numbers AI's? Yes. Each AI should be 0, 1, and 2. That is ternary. But Cantor set may have. Cantor set में क्या किया था?
multiple of 1 by 3.
Middle one is gone. So 1 is never going to appear in the ternary expansion of a Cantor point.
Greater than 0, less than.
No, you are missing the point. If a point is in Cantor set, the middle portion is removed. And middle portion always represents 1 in the ternary expansion. Right? At any stage, it is number 1. So, in the ternary expansion, each number which appears will be either 0 or 2. So, each AI is either 0 or 2. So, AI equal to 0 or 2. Agreed? Yes? So, let me take this X and let me correspond it to the number Y, which is point A1 by 2. Point, so this is B1. Point A2 by 2. I am constructing a new number with a binary expansion now. Construct a number Y with binary. In the binary expansion, what are the digits which will appear?
0, 1.
0 and 1. AIs are either 0 or 2.
2.
If I divide them by 2, I will get a number BI which is
0 or 1.
So, given X, I can construct a Y. So, this is my B1, this is my B2 and so on. So, I have got a correspondence from X. Where will Y lie? Inside 0, 1 again.
Yeah.
Right? There's a point in 0, 1. Question is, I have got a correspondence from Cantor set to 0, 1. It's not difficult at all to show that this is a 1-to-1 onto correspondence. Because if BI's are equal, the doubles are equal. Right? If unequal, then AI's are unequal. It is 1, 1. 1, 2, because every binary has 0 or 2, they can divide and get a point in Cantor set. It is 1, 2 also. So this correspondence is 1, 1 and on 2. So what does it say then? It says Cantor ternary set is same as 0, 1 as far as number of points are concerned. See what is happening? From 0, 1, we have removed sub-intervals of length 1. And what is left is as much as 0, 1 itself. Number of points are still as much as itself. So that is happening at infinity because it is infinite. The question comes whether you can say the number of points in real line or 0, 1 is same as that of rationals and same of rational numbers. Cantor set no. For any given any set X, if you look at the power set of X, this has got m elements. What is the number of elements in power set? 2 to the power. But that is finite. Cantor actually proves you can never have a 1-to-1 onto map from the power set to the set itself. The number of elements in the power set cannot be equal to number of elements in the set itself for any set. Finite or infinite, doesn't matter. You remove everything from finiteness. You proved a general result, beautiful result about any set, right? And number of elements in power set of X is strictly always bigger than, in some sense. In the finite it is clear. Number of elements in for finite. He said this is also true because you cannot have a 1-to-1 map, but X is sitting inside power set anyway as singletons, right? So if something you want to assign a number, then if X has got some number, the power set of, for example, natural numbers, power set of natural numbers what symbol you like to devise to say the number of elements in power set is how many? N has alf naught. So here how many you will say? You will try. So this is a definition of 2 to the power alf naught. So 2 to the power n infinity is defined as any set which has as many elements as the power set of. So now we are defining arithmetic comparison of. So you will say 2 to the power alf naught is strictly bigger than alf naught, right? Power set is always bigger. Can you prove that? Now take power set of power set. You take power set of the power set. So what will be its cardinality? The number of elements. 2 raised to power 2 raised to power alpha. That is bigger than that. So I have given you infinity of infinities. Infinity of natural numbers is the first infinity you are find. To count and reach infinity, countable infinite. 2 to the power alf naught, that was given a name. 2 to the power alf naught was given a name as C, which is same as cardinality of real line. That is cardinality of continuum of points, which is much bigger than the cardinality of natural numbers, alf naught. Alf naught, copies of alf naught can be accommodated in real line, and still what will be left is continuum. That also can be proved. So there is beauty of infinity are coming. Right? Now I just want to show one last slide. See, how did we define infinite? Mathematical way? We said define first finite. And what is not finite, we call it as infinite. But some mathematicians are not happy with that definition. To define what is finite, you need natural numbers. You have to compare with natural numbers. You need an extra instrument. But can I look at a set and say it is infinite without comparing it with natural numbers? So can I have a definition? See, it's a very philosophical, deep question. Can I say a set is infinite if some property is true without bringing in natural numbers? So this was done by Dedican. He said, look, the natural numbers are infinite because there is a copy of natural numbers inside, say odd or even, right? Which is a proper subset but having as many elements as natural numbers. Same is for real line. In the real line, we take only interval 0 to 1. How many points are there? Infinite, but as many as in the whole real line. How do you prove it? If you want, you just bend the real line into a semicircle. So the center draw a line. That point of the circle goes to the point of the line. That is a correspondence. 1 to 1, 1 to correspondence you will get geometrically at least. There are as many points in the real line as on the interval 0, 1. That means there is a proper subset of real line which is in 1 to 1 correspondence with the real line itself. So that is a property of infinite set. So he said, let us define an infinite set as a set for which there exists a proper subset which is in 1 to 1 correspondence with the whole set. That we will call as the infinite set. So no natural numbers are coming, no counting is coming, nothing is coming, only set theory. And now what is finite? Which is not infinite. So it comes to finite by what? Non-infinite is called. Now you can check. If you take number 1 to 3 up to the part, natural number 1 to up to n only, up to 4 only, that cannot be in 1 to 1 correspondence with a proper subset of it. It can only be, the number of elements has to be unique, right? Infinite set. It can be only 4. It cannot be equivalent to 1 to 3. It cannot be 1 to 1 correspondence. So that was an intrinsic definition of infiniteness which revolutionized mathematics. In the sense, it freed it from natural numbers. Because natural number, I don't know what is 1. What is 2? Who gave me 3? What is it? As if Kronecker said, natural numbers are the gift of God. Rest is creation of man. From where does 1 to 3 come? You should wonder that. that goes very deep questions in set theory. So I will just show you one slide and stop here. I will take in 5 minutes extra. And I want to relate it with what I said. So, in the beginning I said infinite and God are same. Right? So here is not a proof of that, an illustration of that. Our Upanishads have also defined what is infinite, but not mathematically, in a philosophical sense.
पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते।